It is great to have you here today.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me here.
So I think we can have this structure of the webinar where first we go through your agenda points, the points you think will be useful to every person out there who wants to pursue this course. And we'll also be combining them with some of the questions you guys have posted on the Google Forms. Post which, if you have any additional questions that you want to ask the speaker, we'll have an open floor at the end. Okay. So I think before we get into the nitty-gritties of how to study and what to do, we have many people who are just aspiring. So can you give us a brief background about what are the exams of this civil service and which posts can you acquire or can you aim for with these exams?
Let me begin first with the UPSC, that is Union Public Service Commission. It's a constitutional body. It holds every year an exam for civil services. They fill the post like Indian Administrative Service IS, IFS, IPS, Indian Revenue Service IRS, and apart from this, other 24 total services are there in Group A and some are there in Group B services. So from there you get the opportunity to serve at the Group A level in the central government administration. Apart from UPSC, this is central exam. Then there is MPSC, that is Maharashtra Public Service Commission. It holds the exam to fill the vacancies or fill the post in administration of Maharashtra state especially. The services there we can see is Deputy Collector, DYSP, then Tehsildar, Nayab Tehsildar, Deputy Education Officer. Such posts are being filled through Maharashtra Public Service Commission, and both these are constitutional bodies. UPSC fills the post for central service, where MPSC fills the services for the Maharashtra state specifically.
Great. So I think we understood what posts can be acquired, but can you give a brief about what is the exam outline per se? How is the exam conducted or what are the steps of these exams?
Okay, so both the exams have the similarity in their phases. It's the 3-stage exam. First stage is preliminary exams, where we have the 2 papers which are MCQ based. Multiple choice questions we have. So 2 papers, one is general studies, another is an aptitude test like maths, reasoning and comprehension. So these 2 papers are there for prelims. Around 10 lakh people sit for the UPSC prelims and around 5 to 6 lakh people sit for the MPSC prelims. So from those lakhs of people, few hundreds to thousands are getting selected for the mains exam. Mains exam for MPSC, it is objective exam. There are 4 papers of general studies where we have the subjects like history, geography, economics, polity, human resource development and science and technology, and 2 papers for language like Marathi and English. So this is for MPSC mains. For UPSC mains we have 9 papers overall, and UPSC mains is for subjective. We have to write the answers. There also we have 4 general studies paper. Again GS 1, 2, 3 are for the history, geography, polity, economics, and GS 4 is for ethics. 1 paper, 5th paper is there for essay. We have to write 2 essays for 250 marks. 2 papers are there for optional. Any one subject we can choose for the optional, and those 2 papers we have to write, and 2 papers are just qualifying nature of language. English is compulsory, and any one language from Indian state like Hindi, Marathi, Telugu, Kannada, this you can take up. So such 9 papers are there for mains. So from mains again, if vacancies are like 1000 in this year, so 2.5 to 3 times of the vacancies people are selected for the interview stage, that is called as personality test. And then interview stage is the same for both the exams. For UPSC it is for 275 marks, and for MPSC it is of 100 marks. So this is the 3-stage exam, and it takes complete 1 year to complete this exam. For example, this year's cycle of UPSC, on 27 June there would be prelims. In September month there would be mains. Mains is like that, you have to write 2 papers in a 1 day, and then after mains you have to give the interview, a personality test. So this is the whole schedule, or this is the structure of the exam, of both the exams.
But now that we've covered that, can we now go to the main question that everybody wants to know, how to approach this exam or how to study for the exam? What should be your preparation strategy?
Okay. For the preparation, I will say first we need to check the syllabus of both the exams. First, I will talk about in brief about UPSC exam. The majority approach remains the same. First, we need to check syllabus. Just go through the syllabus, what UPSC is expecting out of us, main syllabus as well as prelim syllabus. Then go for the past year question paper, like on which topics what UPSC is asking the questions. So after that, third thing we come down to is choose your resource material wisely, and fourth is choosing your optional subject. So from here our actual preparation begins. So first here what people usually do is we begin study for the mains exam first, because mains is very dynamic and it's objective. We have to have a lot of knowledge, wisdom of the things happening around, and the static syllabus. Like if I'm from engineering background, I have very little idea of what is history, geography, polity and economics. We are thorough with the science and technology part, but we are unaware of these things. So static part, we have to do it from basic syllabus material or reference books that are usually recommended. Once at least one reading, or once we have completed the main syllabus, then we have to move towards prelim studies. For prelims, it is MCQ based questions, so we have to practice a lot. For mains, we have to do the answer writing thing. For prelims, it is MCQ based, so we have to solve as many questions or MCQs as we can. But before that, we need to have a thorough knowledge content with us, so that we can write for the prelims exam. And again, this is 1 year span I'm talking about. Means at least it takes around 6 to 7 months to finish the whole syllabus. Once means syllabus is finished, then we can go for the prelims. And for prelims, if we are the first timer, then it takes around 4 to 5 months to finish the whole subject, along with the test series and evaluation of our own self. So this is 1 year strategy. And when you actually face the exam, so after prelims, you get cleared. Then nowadays the time span between prelim and mains is getting reduced. Like from 100 days now it has come up to 90 to 80 days. So in between we have to complete our optional as well as our mains. So whatever we have done. So revision is the key here. And again, after mains, we are very uncertain of the results, because we don't know how we have performed, how we are going to get marks. So we have to begin with optimism that we will get an interview call. So for interview also we need to prepare, and along with that again we can start with our mains preparation, again our prelims. And for MPSC now, again similar strategy, but MPSC our mains is of MCQs. It is not subjective, so we don't have to write much. For UPSC we have to have a writing practice. For mains it is not. For MPSC it is not the case. So for MPSC, there is standard book materials or resources available along with the current affairs that we have to go through. MPSC also similar approach. First, we have to finish off the subject syllabus of the mains. After that, we can go for the prelims. Prelims here, CSAT, the second paper, that is not a qualifying nature. Whereas for UPSC, it is of qualifying nature. So we have to work hard for the CSAT as well. CSAT, that is an aptitude test. So if both the papers we get good marks, then we have very high probability of getting called for the mains. And mains, it is a syllabus. Again, stick to the syllabus, read whatever your material is that you have consolidated, make multiple revisions of the same source again and again, so that you don't get the confused in exam. Then fourth, after revision, we have to evaluate ourselves, like how much practice we have to do. We have to give the test, and after test I think we are much mentally prepared to give the exam. And after exams, then we can begin for the preparation of interview.
That was quite the detail. I think everybody who's preparing can understand how much study goes into it. But we've received majority of the people joining were somebody who's interested of starting the field. So I think if you can tell me exactly when is the right time to approach or start the preparation for this exam, or somebody who's right after 10th, 12th, when should the person start off with this career? choice?
Okay. This again differs from person to person. There's nothing called as right time over here, but it will be better if we start it early. In like in 10th standard, we aren't aware of the many things, but after 12, like in your graduation years or in last 2 years of graduation, we can think of beginning the preparation. Like if you are in the second last year and last year of the graduation, that would be an appropriate time to begin. And for the beginners, I will suggest again, go through the syllabus if you're liking. And first is why you want to be into the civil services. Decide that, then come into the preparation zone. So right time I would suggest for beginning the preparation would be like if you are in a graduation stage, then second last year and last year of the graduation would be the best time. There you can at least begin your preparation. And if it's gone, like some people would be there who might have been passed out and now doing the job. So anywhere you are standing right now is the best time to start.
So I think people who were thinking about when we should approach for this exam can have a clear vision of what should be their start point of when should I be preparing for this exam. If still people have the doubt, they can always write in the chat box. But I think the other question, perennial question, was which books to refer, what did the topper refer, can I get how to make the notes and all that. And I think another question was, what was your optional subject selection? So is there any particular incline or how should that method be?
Okay, so you have asked two questions. I'll address the second question first, like optional. So for choosing the optional, there are 2-3 things we have to keep in mind. The one subject which we are comfortable with, we are interested in. Second, if we have some knowledge of it, like any of your graduation subject also possible to take it as an optional. Engineering subjects are there, medical subjects are there, even commerce, accountancy subjects are there, social science subjects are there, and even languages are there as an optional. UPSC has given a vast chances for taking an optional subject. So first is whether we are interested in that subject genuinely. If we are understanding that subject, do we have a thorough understanding of it? Third is the resource person, the one who will guide you for, and the resource material, if that is adequately available in or not. That should be our third criteria. And fourth is, after having all this, are we able to write the answers? Are we able to answer the demand of the questions of the optional as is required? Because in optional paper, the UPSC expects at least the knowledge of graduation level. So that much of, like academician, are we able to write of the particular subject? So these things we have to keep in mind while choosing the optional. So accordingly, I had chosen optional as geography because I had a mechanical engineering background. So some technical terms I used to like, and geography is a bit technical subject along with social science. And also I had got a resource person to guide me for the geography. So I had taken up geography. And your first question was about the book sources, I think. Book sources, first we have to go through NCERTs for basic conceptual clarities. NCERTs of like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th of the subjects that have been outlined in the UPSC syllabus, such as for history we can go for India the Struggle for Independence or Modern India by Bipan Chandra. Then NCERTs of geography 11th, 12th, polity NCERTs are there. So these subjects NCERTs we have to first go through for our basic conceptual clarity. After this, there are certain reference books in the market, such as for geography, we can have Majid Hussain for Indian geography. For polity, M. Lakshmikant is like a Bible. Such books are there. So we have to choose that. We can ask for any topper or something like in market or many websites there it's available. So that is our basic book sources that we can refer to.
Okay. So I think they've all got the main Bibles that they should be referring to if they have to study and clear like you did. But now the second, again, perennial question that everybody has is, should we go for coaching classes? Is it necessary? And if so, should we just do it in those hubs of Delhi and Pune, or is everywhere the result same? Since you're a Mumbai person, I think you can answer this better.
Okay, fine. For coaching, I'll give an analogy. हम सब लोग बचपन में कहानियाँ सुनते हैं. We hear from our parents, our grandparents, or our teachers even tell the stories in school. We can read the stories as well, but the understanding level is different. When we read ourselves, we don't know many of the dimensions of the same story. But when somebody narrates us the story, then we understand it at a different level. So our wisdom actually increases. So that's what the scope of coaching is here. Self-study we can definitely do, but after self-study, when there is so there are some limitations that we are unable to understand what is exactly UPSC demanding, what are the dynamic changes, what we need to improve upon. For that we need to have a guidance. So as a guidance, we can look up to the coaching materials or coaching institutes, coaching mentors are even there. So for that definitely coaching would be required to brush up our knowledge, and second thing, to take our preparation to another level. And third thing, should we go to like hubs, Delhi, Pune. So now in Mumbai also we are able to find the resource material, like due to internet we can get everything that is being getting in Delhi or Pune through internet. Second thing, here I had joined classes over here only at Thane, the Unique Academy. So I had got all the guidance from here itself. I didn't have to go all the way to Pune or Delhi. So I don't think so now there is need to go out of Mumbai.
So that's great. People can stay put, at least in these times. They don't have to travel to some place to actually clear the exam. But secondly, now somebody asked this in the chat box also, so I'll take it right now. What is the focus of current affairs, or how should you look at current affairs? How should you study for it for your exam?
Okay. Current affairs is one of the significant part of this preparation, because UPSC is interested to have an officer who is aware of what is happening around him or her. So that is why current affairs is a major chunk of this preparation. For that we need to read at least one of the national newspaper, especially Indian Express or The Hindu. Any one of them would be sufficient. And apart from this, monthly current affairs magazines are there in the market from various coaching institutes. So that we can refer to for our revision purpose, and that will be sufficient. We will not have to make the notes by ourselves, because coaching material are reducing our efforts in that. So either of these, one newspaper, one current affairs magazine, and third thing we can do for making our opinions well balanced and well structured, we can watch some of the debates and discussions, especially of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha TV channel is there. So there are some good discussions going on about the government policies and the recent issues that are happening. So we can opt for these three things, especially for the current affairs.
I think there was a specific question that we can take with this study strategy also. What are the type of answers that are expected in an UPSC mains exam? I mean, you can never predict answers, but if you can just give the broad outline or guideline of how your answers are supposed to be.
Yes, sure. UPSC in its gazette notification only states that they want somebody who has somewhat knowledge of what is happening in the particular general studies. So at least some any common man or ordinary person has the knowledge, that much you need to have. So in general studies they are not expecting you to be like an expert. For general studies it should be like you need to demand the demand of the question. So for that, for example, sometimes UPSC can ask for the applications of like biotechnology or nanotechnology. So in which fields you can see how diverse you can think at the crucial time. For example, nanotechnology has a lot of applications, such as in healthcare we can go for something in manufacturing processes, biotechnology process also we can have. So how much you know about it and how much you can write, how much different dimensions you can put in, and are you able to demand the answer of the question in those 150 or 250 words. That is what is expected. So in that also, some people have the habit of writing in paragraph form, some people are having a habit writing in bullet format, or you can be innovative like drawing the diagrams or flow charts. These things you can adapt, but again I will say demand of the question should be addressed. That is what is expected out of the candidate.
So I think whoever asked this question should be now in a comfortable position to attempt the answers with your guidance. But I think the next question was, how should we complete the portion? Because I'm sure it is quite a vast portion. So how are you supposed to approach the entire thing that you complete every part of it and not leave anything in option? And the second part was how much writing practice should somebody do to get things right? So if you've written papers or if you've attempted mock papers, it would be a great help for everybody to know.
For writing practice, first I will say is once you are done with the syllabus reading, one reading, when you are done, then you can probably approach for writing the answers. And how much time is required, first I'll let me go towards that first. So syllabus wise, we have to first chart out the resource material, reference materials that we are going to use. So reading them according to the questions asked. First, we, as I have said already, that we have read the questions that previously UPSC has asked. After them, we can read the syllabus topic completely. Those we are not supposed to read the whole book, but what is relevant and what is the syllabus, those topics we have to read. It is a vast, I know, but for that we need to chart out the reference material wisely. Once it is completely reading part is done, then we can go for writing the answers. That we can get questions from the internet also, or previous year questions from that we can start writing the answers, or we can have any test series that is available in the market, that also we can do. But for proper mains test series, to get that simulation between prelims and mains, what I will suggest is joining any proper test series and going into the class and writing any classroom and writing the paper will give you the proper simulation like an exam. And writing the 20 questions in around 150, some questions we have to write in 150 words, some questions in 250 words. It's a humongous task. We have to write like around 4,000 words in 3 hours continuously. So for that we need to have a practice of writing. Now what we can do is, once we are done with the reading part, we have consolidated some knowledge, then we can begin to write down something. Write 1 to 2 questions daily or something like that. Or at the end of the week, we can even start. We can try writing an essay as well, because essay we have to write around 1,000 to 1,200 words. So it's a big thing. On one topic we have to elaborate so much. So this we can do.
So I think just reading and studying is one part, but actually putting it into practice and attempting the paper beforehand so you are comfortably in a position to complete it in exam condition is also very important. So I think writing practice does play a major role. And that's where I come to my next question of how to manage time during the exam. So like you said, 150, 250 words to writing that and completing it in record time must be a task. So what was your strategy during the exam time also, and during, I think, the entire exam schedule? How did you manage time?
So here again, revision and practice is the key. How much we have revised at topics well, and whatever we have done, just believe in what you have done, like that you have done sufficient, because completing the whole syllabus till the exam is just not possible. We at the end feel something is left behind, we have not done this, we have not done that. Just leave that and believe in what you have done. Second thing, try writing the proper answer tests. Like you have to at least write one comprehensive test, so that you get the knowledge, like which questions to be solved first. You can go with the strategy, like I'll solve first 150 words, 15 marker question, or 20 marker question, or 10 marker question. So this you can go with the strategy, and completing the paper should be our aim. So first think how much time I can give, allocate to each question. For example, here we get hardly 5 to 7 minutes for writing one question. In that we have to write 150 words, and that too we have to think about it, we have to structure the answer in our mind, and then we have to write. For this, what we can do is we can think of the questions and try structuring it in our minds. Like if we are just sitting idle, doing just having lunch or something, then take up some questions, and then you can just structure the question in your mind, frame the answer in your mind, how you can answer this question, what points I can add this, from where I can take the introduction, can I quote some philosopher, or can I get some facts or examples of this topic, and we can just have we can write it down into somewhere, so that at the end we get it very easily. These things you can do. And just for writing practice, you second thing what we can do is try writing, doing it in diagram form or flow chart forms, so it will be easy for you to do it faster. These are some techniques to reduce your time. We have to finish it in 5 to 7 minutes, so by diagrams and flow charts we can reduce our time.
So I think it's a mental game and a study game all combined in that record time that you have to complete your exam. So like you said, even while lunch, if you're studying, it's not just study for some hours and then it's a persistent game of 1 year, 365 days, you have to be on the job. So I think a big kudos to you for doing that. But now we come to the highlight question that many of them had posted, the interview round. Now, I personally have seen it in movies, but
Okay.
how the panel sits and how should be your, I think the body language is, and what you should do when somebody is just staring at you and not giving you an expression if you're doing right or wrong. So I think if you can elaborate on the interview round of the last stage that you before you become what you are today, would be a big help to everybody.
Okay, sure. Personality test is the last round, and they don't call it as interview, they call it as personality test, because it is designed to check your personality basically. So they want an officer like qualities such as how much dispassionate analysis of facts you are doing, how much decision making thing you have in you, then how can you elaborate the facts, how can you justify your answers. These things they want to actually check. So for interview, there is this panel, 5 people are there on the panel. One chairperson is from the member of UPSC, and other 4 people are like they are just expert in their fields, like some college professors or ex-civil servants. Such kind of people are there, and everybody asks you the question. Everybody asks around 4 to 5 questions. It takes just around half an hour to sometimes 45 minutes for the interview to get over. They ask questions about your personality. Your biodata is already with them, we have to fill that form. So they have a fair idea from where you have come from, what is your educational background, and if you have worked anywhere, so that things they are already aware of from your biodata. So they might ask it from there. They ask about the recent current happenings that are happening around you. So they also want to check how much you are aware, how much your eyes are opened when you look into the society. I'll give an example. For me, the question asked was the public violence at public places have increased nowadays. So can you see it? So yes, definitely it has increased. We have seen the crime rates have increased. So many cases of violence and at public places, murders, etc. are happening. So they had asked me the question, what could be the root cause of it? What is the root cause stayed in the society? So this is like, it is nowhere written in any newspaper. It is never nowhere in any book you can get the ready-made answer. You have to have it a tailor-made. You have to think over there for a while and then you have to answer it. So such kind of questions are there. Even some factual questions are there, like about migration, because Mumbai is very famous for the migration. It's a hotspot. People are attracted towards Mumbai. So how should be the approach of administration before Mumbai? Then there's project of coastal road going on in Mumbai. So isn't it harmful to the environment? Such kind of questions they had put it for me. So it is actually uh, we can say brain game, and pressure is put on you because we have gone through the rigorous process of prelims and mains, and it's the last part of interview that is going to check whether you are inside the in the list or you are outside the list. So we have to be very optimistic, and we have to be future oriented, solution oriented, that yes, this person has some solution, some innovative solution. Even if it's not your own solution, you can quote some examples there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine your pressure from lakhs, you've come down to thousands, and now it's a deciding factor of 10 to 15 minutes whether you're in or out. So
Yeah.
the pressure must be enormous, and you sail through with flying colors. But before I think we shift our agenda points, I could see a few questions pop up. So these were related to study. So maybe you can address them now. Somebody
Yes.
was asking about if I have not studied Marathi as a subject in school, can I still attempt for MPSC? Is that available option?
Yeah, sure. But for MPC, anyone who has not studied Marathi in their schooling or not familiar with Marathi, there is one paper, subjective paper for Marathi, as well as one objective paper for grammar. So you'll have to study that from the beginning. You will have to be thorough with Marathi because that is not eliminable part of it. So you will have to study Marathi. And second thing is, majority of the resource material for MPC is available in Marathi, but nowadays it is being available in English also, and now they have changed syllabus a little bit. So hopes are there that in future there will be a lot of books available for non-Marathi speakers or the one who has not studied in Marathi. So we are hoping for the English resource material. But yes, definitely you can do with some more hard work, because you'll have to put in more hard work other than Marathi, the one who has studied Marathi. So that is definitely possible, and it's not like that you cannot opt for it, because I've seen many people who didn't have Marathi in their schools but have cleared MPC.
So now they have to study lunch, dinner, and breakfast. If somebody
Okay.
Marathi too. But the next question was, I think, is there any specific way to read or study the Constitution of India for UPSC? If you can throw any light on it.
Okay, for that first we need to understand the basics of polity. From where it gets cleared is your constitution making process in the NCERT, that is being 11th 12th NCERT, and then you can go for M. Lakshmikant. So understanding the polity, philosophy of the constitution is need of an hour, rather than we just cannot by heart some articles. We have to understand the philosophy behind it. For example, there are some fundamental rights, fundamental duties. So what are these fundamental rights? What would be the mind of constitutional makers while enlisting those as the fundamental rights? Why not the others? So these things you have to think more. In UPSC, you are just not reading and by hearting the things. We have to understand the logic behind them. That is the key.
Sirf ratta nahi chalega.
Yes.
But another was how to prepare for MPSC human resource development subject. So I think HRD, they want to know more.
Yes.
GS3 paper is of HR and HRD. For that, we can refer any of the basic book, that is either Ranjan Kolambe is there or something IP Singh book is there. Any of these two books. So from here your basics would get cleared. Second is topic wise analysis question papers are available. Those books are also available in the market. You can refer them. And third is a dynamic thing that you have to do in HRD and HR. Government ministries are there, so their websites we can check on. In those websites, like their about us, their reports, their schemes are enlisted. These are dynamically changing things, so we can take it from there. And from current affairs, the remaining portion we can cover up for HRD.
Okay. So I think I know there are many questions will come on study strategies, as we can just see, but major were current affairs, which I think you went in detail to tell about which the Hindu and what not to read. And so I think somebody's asked about publications. We can take it at the end where she'll repeat the books that you can refer, but we can
Yes, sure.
continue with our agenda point ahead. So, like when we were jokingly talking about, you told me that there are attempts, or you cannot forever give this exam. But being a
Yes.
chartered accountant, it was a shock to me. But
Okay.
so I would like to know what challenges or the difficulties that you face in going through this career path. So, because there are many people who just want to start off. So I think first question will be how did you manage both the exams together?
Okay, so initially I had begun with the UPSC in mind, but simultaneously I was giving MPSC also because it's like giving MPSC. People say it's net practice for UPSC prelims. So I had given that and I got cleared through it with UPSC prelims preparation. So from there my MPSC journey began. In MPSC, in the first attempt itself, I went up to mains, but I could not clear it because I just got 1.1 and 1.5 month for the preparation. In second attempt, I went up till the interview, and it was my third attempt where I gave UPSC and MPSC together. Because in third attempt, I was very sure because last time I was out of the list just because of 3 marks. So I knew I'll be able to cover up those 3 marks with more hard work and more efforts if I put in. So for MPC I was confident enough, and what I had to do was the time management thing. UPSC I was preparing for 2 years, but I could not clear the prelims. So in third attempt where I got cleared through both the exams, that was first I think I did was time management. Second, I was very rational about both the exams, like I have to give both the exams together this year, and this was the golden chance for me because I was at the peak level of my preparation. So the time that I had got was like between both the exams I used to get 2 months, 1 to 2 months, one prelim, then another prelim after 2 months, then one mains after a month. This kind of a thing was there, juggling. So I had charted out like which are the complementary things or overlapping things for MPSC and as well as UPSC. Those I'll do it together. And the things which are different, like for UPSC my optional was different. For MPSC I had Marathi and English grammar I had to do. So these things I had to give some extra time than other candidates, because the one who's preparing for UPSC has not to give some time for Marathi and English grammar as well as this HRD thing or some Maharashtra's history or geography. But this I had to give. But thanks to my previous attempt that I was prepared well with it, so I could do it together. But it's actually practically not advisable to everybody to give it in one single shot, because one may not have the experience of writing the mains previously of MPSC or UPSC. So this won't but if you are confident enough about yourself that you can do it together, then I think the sky is the limit. And third thing, the these complementary things that we have to do together. And fourth is just be where you are, like be in the present. If you are doing MPC, then just do it with complete focus. You have to do that only. Don't think about the result, don't think about अरे UPSC में मेरा क्या होगा, मैंने तो वो पढ़ा ही नहीं है, ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ. So just don't think about it. Just be in that moment of the exam. Don't think about the results. Then you can sell through anything.
So I think smart work, and first for the smart work, assess your position and don't just copy because somebody is doing it, you also go for it. So assess
Yes,
your
yes.
capability, and then smart work can get you through. But
Yes.
on that note only, since you're an engineer, and I think research also says majority of the people going for this profession are engineers. Somebody had this question: how are you supposed to manage engineering and study for this course together?
So for engineering and the studying together, in our graduation years we can begin basic reading of these books, like as I have already told, these NCERTs we can start reading, and newspaper reading we can begin with, so that our knowledge base is created. And from on that foundation we can then put up current affairs as we come into the actual preparation phase with our optional. We can choose optional in our engineering year as well. People might, you can also opt for your engineering degree as your optional, like mechanical engineering or civil engineering. These are also the optionals available in UPSC. So we can prepare very well our optional subject during our graduation years only. If we are taking the graduation subject as an optional, if we are not taking the graduation subject as an optional, then you can start having basics of it, as well as some of the books that give you, thorough idea of what economy actually is, what is the polity, philosophy of the constitutions. So some books are recommended. There you can get a thorough idea of what is globalization, what are the social issues. Those books we can also read in our graduation years.
Okay, so pre-planning with engineering, I think is the right advice. But for somebody now who's doing a job and wants to go for this profession, how is that person required to juggle between both equally responsible roles?
Yes.
So juggling between the job and UPSC exam will be a bit difficult, but with your willpower it is definitely possible. After job, like every day 4 to 5 hours effective study. Effective study means you are just studying into it, you are focused, no other thoughts are coming into your mind, you are completely into the books. Then around 3 to 4 hours or 4 to 5 hours every day, if you can allocate to your study, then it is possible. And second thing, Saturday, Sunday, many people have off, or even one day a week is off, then the whole day you can give for your preparation. So this much preparation will be absolutely fine. And while doing job, we can get some off, some holidays that we can utilize for the preparation only. Because I've seen when we are doing the job, we get any off, we tend to take a break from everything. We go for the picnics, vacation, we go somewhere outing, so that we can avoid, and we can dedicate it completely for the exam. This can be done. Whatever spare time we get in the jobs, that you can utilize definitely.
You did tell the hard part, but now everybody must be interested to know what are the perks out of this after doing all this. What is that everybody likes to achieve and you can get through this profession?
Yes, so definitely if you get cleared, then your actual journey begins, I'll say. This is just preparatory phase. You are just knocking the door. After once the door is open, the opportunities are just in front of you. A lot of opportunities are there. It's government service, group A, civil service. So it is why everyone in India usually prefers to be an IS, is that you get an opportunity as a decision maker in the system. So we are now outside the system. If I am an engineer, what I can do is I can improve the quality of some product. I can have something at very micro level. But if I'm an IS officer, then I have the system. I'm a part of the system, and I can have a decision making power to change or to improve the system. So that is the best part of this process. You are just aware of many things. Even if you can improve healthcare system, you can improve the education system, your public transport system, everything where you are interested in and where you get the opportunity to work in. So this is the best part of it, that you are at the highest level of decision making. One complete district is under your control or under your administration. So this is like you are serving the nation, serving the people, and I think it's a paid social service, as it's said.
Correct. So was that your motivation? Because people wanted to know what motivated you to get into this after engineering.
Yes, definitely this was my motivation, because it's like you are directly making changes into positive changes into the lives of many people at just with your one decision. So this is the big thing, and you are being the leader, so it gives you the opportunity of being leadership. third thing is there are diverse opportunities in job of IS. So you have to work like from public distribution system to education to then environment conservation to healthcare. Now we have seen during corona times we were not even aware of what COVID is, but administration had to find out the ways. So this is completely unknown disease, what to be done, how we should tackle it, how it will impact the lives of every single citizen in India, and what we can do. So even during lockdown, what government had decided or what the executives had decided was, you will get the ration at your house. So and your salaries would be paid, at least the basic salaries you will get. This decision making thing is done by the administration. So that was my main motivation to come here.
So, I mean, from what I can gather, the attributes that a person needs to have is you should be a socially responsible citizen, and you should have that feeling of serving or working for the country for its betterment. But is there any personal attributes that you feel that a person should have to conquer this profession?
Okay. Uh, for to conquer this process and to conquer this profession, I'll say first you need to have your clear why you want to join the civil service, why you want to be the civil service aspirant, why you want to be an IS. If your why is clear, then anyhow becomes easy. So, then there are 3 P's. First is you have to have a passion for it. Whatever happens, whatever failures come into your path, your passion helps you to sail through it. Third thing is second P is your patience. We have to have patience, because administration is not just like at one click everything is happening. We have to have the patience. We are working for thousands of people, and we are working with hundreds of people. So to get work done from everybody, we have to have a patience that this process teaches us. Even after clearing, even after giving interview, it's not sure that you will get cleared. So you have to have patience to go back to prelims again and complete the whole 1 year cycle again. This is patience. And third is process. Believe in the process, believe in yourself. This process is very enriching. Whatever result we get is just a byproduct, I say. What you get out of it is your personality gets developed. So I think these 3 P's and 1 why you should have for this exam.
It was, I think, a spot on answer of what attributes a person should have. I think that makes you a complete package. I think we've covered majority of the questions and time is up. So I know we should stick to time so that everybody also respect time and time respects you. But Shrutisha, you want me to take one last question and then we can wrap up.
Okay,
So
sure.
there was a question about time limit. I think time limit was explained by you quite in detail about how to go through. If you can just run through about how to complete in record time all the questions for UPSC mains.
Okay, for this we have to have a good strategy. For this, first is you just be confident in the exam that you can attempt the question. First, chart out which questions you can write very well. There will be some questions which you are just completely unaware of. Some questions you have very good knowledge of, you can write. Some questions you just have very basic knowledge. So 3 type of questions are there in any exam. First, classify them. Like first, I'm going to address the questions which I'm very well prepared with, because some questions come directly from your preparation. Then second, go for the questions which you have some idea, and lastly go for the questions which you are just completely unaware of. You are going to make the answer there itself. Such questions, keep it at the end. So first thing, be rational in devising your strategy. This kind of thing if you are going to do. And second is I don't think so. I think I've told about diagrams and
flowcharts
I think
that
you
you
were
can make.
pretty clear on that front. So just because there was a question I asked you to run through. So I think it was a very, very informative session, and I'm very sure that we are going to see you at a great position in very, very soon. So thank you for taking out the time and coming to speak to us, and to all the aspirants who I'm sure will be following your paths and becoming a great success story. And we will love to hear your stories too. And once again, a big thank you to you. It was a pleasure having you on our platform.
Thank you very much for inviting me over here, and I wish all the best to all the future aspirants over here. And I hope, last message I would like to give them is be a good learner, be a good listener and good learner, because throughout your life this is going to sell you through. We have to learn from everybody that we come across. So just keep this attitude on, then you can fetch really good marks in any exam.